Spin is a psychedelic record that oozes atmosphere and flings us through a kaleidoscope of the 80s. Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. So I'm sure that, over the years you guys know that I do kind of cover a lot of the sort of similar bands, I guess. But for one band that really kind of like caught my attention, I'd heard their name sort of banded around, but I'd never actually listened to them until now. And I was pretty blown away, which is why I've decided to feature MESSA as this week's album review with their brand new album, The Spin. So if you're not familiar with MESSA, just like I was, they are a band from Italy that have been going for about 10 years now, and they experiment with the idea of jazz, blues, heavy metal, prog, black metal, and in particular on this record they very much have the 80s set in their sights. So thematically this record explores ideas of like impossible cursed love, resurrection, self-sabotage, and it really does kind of have quite a romantic feel to it, I think is probably a good word for it. So with this record, they've really kind of focused on, sonically, the 80s, right? So there's, gated reverb on the drums, there's synthesizers everywhere, and the vocals are very much kind of in the spotlight here. I'm not sure if it's kind of wholly down to the production or the guitar tone or the mixing, but they really have nailed that sort of aesthetic that they were going for. There's guitar effects that, quite easily could have come out of the Cult, Sisters of Mercy or Joy Division, but then, we get that sort of pop sensibility that we had, with like Genesis, Phil Collins, and then there's, elements of kind of John Carpenter, Vangelis, Blade Runner, things like that. It's a really quite eclectic mix of sounds. So sonically, this record is very much a journey. And it kind of starts immediately from, when we hear that first sort of synthesizer in Void Meridian, we're immediately immersed in MESSA'S world, so to speak. So Void Meridian and Fire on the Roof are kind of a little bit more in the rock aesthetic, I would say. They're kind of a bit more straightforward tracks. Void Meridian in particular has a show-stopping guitar solo that, Led Zeppelin fans would be very, very proud of. Definitely a real highlight for me for lead guitar in that track. But Fire on the Roof is kind of a little bit more sort of, just more straight up, I guess, straight up rock. And whilst there's still more hints of things being a little bit more straightforward, like At Races, which kind of has a bit more of a post-punk feel, midway through that, it kind of sheds its skin and becomes this Dark Side of the Moon-esque kind of total trip, which I was absolutely not expecting, and that's like the first surprise in the record. But it's songs like Immolation for me that I think really showcase the sort of potential of this band. It's a really haunting ballad style piece, and it showcases the vocal abilities of Sarah absolutely brilliantly. She kind of sounds like Debbie Harry from Beyond the Veil, but also has a huge amount of power behind her vocals, which I thought was really, really interesting. And it's such an ebb and flow thematically. Wait on my But I have to say that I think The Dress is the album showstopper. It's a track where, again, we're sort of in these beautiful sort of moments of stillness where these kind of clean guitar lines hang almost like sort of stalactites, threatening to fall. But midway through, it kind of moves into this sort of really film noir jazz trade-off where there's trumpet, which is trading off against this really nice, that fluffy guitar-toned jazz guitar lead, which was really, really cool. And then it kind of comes in with a signature classic rock style guitar solo. And it was really a massive highlight for me for this record. problem I have with this record though is that as much as there are some really amazing standout moments, that sort of consistency isn't quite there the entire way through the album. Fire on the Roof, for example, and Reveal didn't quite stand up to, you know, the moments of Void Meridian, The Dress, Thicker Blood, and, you know, At Races even. I think the thing is that we're kind of seeing MESSA start to kind of get a bit of their personality together, and you know, they've been a band for 10 years, so it's getting there. But I think when they really find their voice, that's going to be where we truly see something special from this band. On this, their first release through Metal Blade Records, The Spin is a psychedelic record that oozes atmosphere and flings us through a kaleidoscope of the 80s. Off the back of this record, I think MESSA has some serious promise, and I'm really confident in the fact that we will be seeing some truly great things from them in the future. So, for that reason, I'm going to give this record an 8 out of 10. Definitely worth checking out, and I'm sure it's going to probably end up in quite a lot of people's end of year lists. It's a very, very, very good record. So that's it from me. Thank you ever so much for checking out this album review. If you did enjoy it, please do hit that like and subscribe button and share with any of your mates. I always really, really appreciate it. Let me know what you think of the record once you've given it a spin, and I'll see you guys very shortly for another album review and bad puns.